Good afternoon. I am Assistant Sheriff Jamie Prosser with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I'm here to provide you additional details of an officer-involved shooting which occurred on Friday, January 24th, 2025. This is the first officer-involved shooting this year and the first fatal officer-involved shooting. At this same time in 2024, we had no officer-involved shootings. This recent event was reported as a battery call in the 800 block of 6th Street, Boulder City, Nevada, at approximately 9:16 a.m. You can see the scene to my left. The officer involved in this incident is Cesar Ibarra. He is 48 years old and has been with the LVMPD since 2005. Officer Ibarra was armed with an M&P 9mm handgun. The investigation has revealed he fired 2 rounds. He is assigned to the Homeland Security Division, Airport Bureau. It should be noted that Officer Ibarra was on his regularly scheduled day off, but because he identified himself as a police officer and took action as a police officer during this incident, we are considering it an officer-involved shooting. The suspect in this investigation has been identified as Jeremiah Bouchard. He was 45 years old, 5 foot 9 inches tall, and weighed 202 pounds. The following are Bouchard's charges should he have survived: 1 count attempted murder and 1 count battery on a protected person. The details of this officer-involved shootings are as follows. On January 24th, 2025, at approximately 9:16 a.m., Boulder City Police received a call with an open line from the 800 block of 6th Street in Boulder City, Nevada. Dispatchers could only hear what appeared to be fighting in the background. A female could be heard saying her husband was in the front of their residence armed with a firearm, and shortly after, shots were fired. Boulder City police officers arrived on scene and rendered aid to the male, later identified as Jeremiah Bouchard, who was in the front yard of a residence. They requested medical personnel, and he was later pronounced deceased. Boulder City Police learned LVMPD officer Ibarra had heard commotion coming from the neighbor's backyard. We will now play video from a neighboring backyard camera. This video does not show the actual confrontation, but has audio of the commotion our officer heard. After being alerted by the commotion, Officer Ibarra witnessed Bouchard physically assault a clothesline in the victim's backyard as though he was physically trying to pull it out of the ground. He then observed Bouchard body slam the victim onto the ground, get on top of her, and began to strike her on her face. We will now play video of that fight captured from a neighbor's camera. This video has no audio. In this video, our victim is in the brown jacket. Bouchard is in the black jacket. As you can see, he's wrestling with the clothesline. He picks her up and pushes her to the ground before striking her multiple times. The victim suffered multiple lacerations to her head, swelling to her face, a cut and bruised lips, as well as strangulation marks around her neck. Officer Ibarra had alerted his wife to call 911 and then went to the neighboring backyard to separate Bashard from the victim. Officer Ibarra directed the victim to go with his wife to their residence, where she sat down in a chair in front of the front door. Bashard followed Officer Ibarra, and the two engaged in a physical altercation where Bashard slammed Officer Ibarra's head into a vehicle in the driveway. Ibarra's wife observed the altercation and saw her husband was getting struck multiple times. At one point, Bashard was able to encircle his arm around Ibarra's neck, prompting his wife to retrieve a firearm. Officer Ibarra was able to separate himself from Bashard and drew his own firearm. He identified himself as a police officer and provided several verbal commands to get on the ground and back away. Despite those commands, Bashard moved forward toward the victim, causing Officer Ibarra and his wife to discharge their weapons, striking Bashard. We will now show you cell phone video taken by a witness of the shooting. Officer Ibarra is there next to the Jeep. You could see his wife to the right of the door and the victim right there underneath the mailbox with the suspect right in front of her. This concludes our briefing. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
Can you tell us the relationship between Bashard and that female and how that female is now?
They were acquaintances, as far as I am aware. As far as her conditions, she has been released from the hospital and is recovering. I will tell you that by her own statement and the witnesses on scene, that she truly believed that Bashard was going to kill her if someone did not intervene that day.
What was the fight about, or the altercation between the victim and the suspect?
It's actually unknown. It seems as though out of nowhere the suspect just lost control and started attacking the victim.
She was obviously defending her husband, but would there be any sort of charge against the wife since she's not an officer?
At this time, no. Thank you. Have a nice day.